Hi, in this video, we are going to talk about basic cloud computing. What is cloud, etc. So before going to the cloud, we also need to have a few understanding. What is mean by data center? What is first of all data center? So we are everywhere talking about cloud these days. So before going to the cloud, we will catch up a little bit on the data center. So we started this digital evaluation from traditional data centers, where a huge number of racks, in each rack multiple rack servers. So from there, slowly we saturated the space, building, all those things. So we started going towards virtualization, and even from virtualization there is a lot of offering difficulties and business maintenance difficulties from who is investing, and they are also has to invest for operations. So from where the cloud era is started. So previously, before going to the cloud, the traditional data center, on-prem data centers, okay, so where the host people also will have the investment, that is the capex. So they will buy the land, they will buy all accessories including the hardware, end to end. So that is the total capex. So and then from tomorrow we are going to start the operation. So from there you also need to spend the operation cost, which is opex. Okay, so these days people are started involving in uh, data center migration from one data center to another data center, old data center to new data center. But many people, if asked why the decision was taken from old data center to new data center, or from on-prem data center to cloud, nobody have a clarity. So basically, if capex investment, say for example, it's 100 million, okay, 100 million, okay. So you started the business and started running. So every year there is a maintenance cost in all upgrade or failure or replacement or operational cost in general. So say for example, first year is may you get say 20 million, and third year is going to be say 40. I'm just giving an example. So the fifth year, or some at some point, when you cross 50% of your investment, more than 50%, okay, then you need to take a call. You cannot keep invest in the old infrastructure. So either you need to move it to the newer hardware with better performance. So that is where we are moving towards the newer technologies, newer hardware, newer upgraded versions, everything. So previously the capex apex is going to from one person pocket, that is a business owner. So after cloud, the capex is going to be from cloud owner, the apex is going to be the who is using. I'm using, I'm paying. So that is where people divided in the cloud business. Okay, so I'm just going for the data center. So we started with server virtualization, and then we started with cloud. So basically we started the on-prem. From there we virtualized because of the space crunch. There are a lot of operational difficulties. From there we now going towards cloud. But many people are thinking that cloud means we no need. Still cloud requires on-prem infrastructure. From on-prem infrastructure, there is to your provisioning capabilities, to your operational capabilities. Okay, and then we have to understand what is the data center types. If I ask many people, okay, what is the critical data center? What is the data center types? They are really blank. So the data center types you need to understand. Even though you are going to the cloud, when you go for a senior, you need to understand what type of data center you are going to host it in the backend. Okay, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Okay, tier 4 data center is a more critical. Tier 3 data center is less critical. Tier 2 normally will go for any development or any development related task, because it's a very early stage, the redundancy wise, the backup wise. So tier 1 is straightforward. It's a standalone infrastructure. So tier 4, if you take network, you will have more redundancy networks. If you take storage, you have more redundancy storage. So in each level, you will have more redundancy, not just one redundancy. So of course, the cost wise also, it's going to be expensive. So we started with traditional. Whenever we consume any more load, we keep purchase the newer hardware. But when it comes into cloud, I'm starting with 4 machines. Okay, tomorrow my workload is keep on increasing. So I'm getting 2 more resources. So 2 days after my workload is coming back to normal, automatically my infrastructure is getting synced with what I have before. So I need to pay only those 2 days, 6 missions. Rest of the days, I need to pay only 4 missions. So this is how much we pay, sorry, how much we use, how much we pay. That is the major advantage people are going for the cloud. And most of the cloud benefits is location independent, and on the fly you can scale it, and even 24/7 support we are getting it, and how much we use, how much we pay, and everything will be monitored in the dashboard. And on premise, everything we need to own it. In infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. Infrastructure service means complete hardware will be owned by the vendor. Platform rest all marked as a yellow. This is going to be managed by the consumer who is using. And in platform as a service, till this point, the vendor will take care. Only the business who is using, they need to take care of this 2 area. And software as a service is a fully customized infrastructure. So it's like a per user per license, so full developed product. So everything will be managed by the person who is provisioning or offering. So basically, this is the pretty much the cloud types. And in cloud, still people are really don't understand what kind of a DNS mechanism we are using it. When we started this digital era, some 30 years back, so we used to manage the DNS in the manual way, Anycast. So there will be only one server in US or Canada or wherever they are hosting it. So from across the world, everybody will try to reach there, irrespective where they are located. So the time delay will be huge. The response time also will be huge. So the performance also, of course, it will be reduced. So in cloud, there will be a different mechanism, GeoDNS. So they are setting up their replica in most of the nearby geography. So when we say, as per this diagram example, the person is accessing CentOS.org. when he access CentOS.org, automatically, what is his internet service provider? Say, for example, Airtel. So the Airtel will receive that request, the DNS server. Okay, he will have GSLB mechanism. First, he will identify where he is coming from. Okay, I have a public address. So the public address is a registered IP address. So from there, we can easily track which location he is. So I'm having that information. What he is trying to access? He is trying to access CentOS.org. So the GS will be knows across the world where and all the replica servers are there. So it will check the nearby servers. So say, for example, this USA server is responding 7 milliseconds, keep alive, and this is replying 12 milliseconds. So the GSLB mechanism, geo load balancing, geo DNS. So it will try to give you record A from this, record B from this. So he will get the page established from the USA. So and also if there is anything goes wrong, even the second record will be get established. So this is exactly way the cloud everything is started working nowadays. So the user will not face any timeline issue or latency issues most of the time. And most of the people, they are working in RPO or cloud. First of all, they don't have more clarity on RPO and RTO. This is very important. Why? Because first I need to know what I need to recover, when I need to recover, when I need to restore, how I need to implement the backup, how I need to implement the restoration, how I need to plan for DR, how I need to plan for BCP, or how, basically RPO, RTO is the key area. Okay, RPO means recovery point objective, RTO means recovery time objective. It's a very simple explanation, but it's a very crucial in any of the project deliverable. So RPO means if you are going to one project, the project expectation, business expectation is I cannot tolerate more than 4 hours data loss or more than 2 hours. That depends on the client, each projects. But recovery point, it's a data. Okay, in what point you cannot tolerate the recovery time. So T, you can easily recollect T, time. Okay, time means high availability. If my current primary data center or primary infrastructure goes down, how soon I can recover my business in a short period of time? There will be a business expectation within 2 minutes, within 1 minute, or within 1 second. That depends on the criticality of the business. So you need to have the RTO, that is the recovery time objective. So, okay, to decide this, you need to first discuss with the client, get the functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Based on this, you can plan this, you can plan this. So this is also one of the very good easiest diagram, which you can understand what is mean by RTO, what is mean by RPO. So when the disaster happened, okay, how much data loss I can, if the business says 4 hours, then you need to make sure every 3 hours, 50 minutes or some duration, you need to make sure the scheduled backup is happening. And the data size, again, the backup is really depends on your data size and daily growth, what technology you are taking. Okay, and RTO, how soon you can fail over to the backup infrastructure. At the end of the day, so the failing over is not a problem, but after failover, you should have the data same consistency. So you need to make sure primary and backup infrastructure, the data sync also should be intact. Okay, so these are all understanding. You need to make sure the RPO and RPO wherever you go in any of the project. Before you're going to the cloud, these are all the basic criteria you need to understand. You need to be very confident. And I given a very simple example, RPO, recovery point objective. So daily I'm taking backup of 5 o'clock. I'm just giving example. This may differ for your project, but just get the idea. So every day, 5 o'clock, I'm taking backup. And one fine day, 9 o'clock in the morning, my business crashed. Means my website is down, or my application is down. So people are trying to recover. Remember, from evening 5 o'clock yesterday to till today morning, there was no backup. So go back to your client business expectation. So they clearly said in the agreed document, more than 4 hours, business cannot tolerate the data loss. So here, almost 16 hours data loss happened. So you need to, as a service provider, you need to have the penalty. You need to pay a penalty. So in order to avoid those situations, as a technical person, as a system administrator, as a DevOps architect, or as a solution architect, or irrespective any roles, you have to make sure within that agreed expectation, data loss expectation, the relevant backup schedule has to happen so that we can avoid such situation. Okay, and RTO, recovery time objective. We can take the same example. The every day 5 o'clock in the evening, the backup is happening. Next day morning 9 o'clock, the application is down, or the business is down, or the website is down, depends on your projects. But the team is started recovery from 9 o'clock, but they were able to successfully restore the application or business only by 6 p.m. So you calculate, you go back to the agreed SLA document. So the business clearly agreed more than say I'm just giving 4 hours, but not the case. They clearly mentioned more than 10 minutes. The business cannot tolerate the downtime. So in that case, you need to have proper network failover. You need to have the every second data sync between primary and, so there are a lot of things you need to plan according to the primary and secondary. So RTO time, RPO point, that is a data. So basically, cloud, you need to have first servers, physical infrastructure, and then virtual infrastructure. So from the physical infrastructure, you need to have hypervisor infrastructure and the necessary all VLAN, vSAN, vSwitch. On top of that, you have a UI, cloud management stack, portal.azure.com or aws.amazon.com. So all this will make you to facilitate via the cloud offerings. Okay, PaaS means you will get a runtime environment, but still you need to have all this in place. Okay, you need to have still all this in place. So cloud means here also I'm getting a couple of queries. Cloud nowadays will remove my job or my work profile. Okay, you need to understand one thing: whatever the automation comes, still the legacy has to be play vital role in the backend. Okay, so you need to, you are here, you are only topping up the add-on. You are not removing, or your existing knowledge is not wasted. Okay, please don't worry on that. So software as a service, fully developed application as a service offering direct to the UI. So most of the software as a service per user license. Okay, most of the PaaS is going to be how much you are executing runtime environment. Sometimes based on the code storage size or execution size, the compute power. And what is the characteristics of cloud? So basically, these are the 5 major area: on demand, self-service. When I need, I will get it. So the network access also, you can access it from anywhere. So that is also one of the major feature. And resource pooling, you can efficiently, you can manage the resources across the cloud. And rapid plasticity. So on demand, you can elastic your infrastructure. And measured service, how much you use, how much you need to pay. That is a very well established measured one. So private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud. Okay, of course, everyone will have more understanding on private cloud. Private cloud means basically you have to set up your own infrastructure in your on premises, in your data center. Okay, so if you want, you can facilitate. Mostly private cloud is facilitate internal data or internal business. If you want, you can give a specific access to the approved vendors, but still they need to come to your infrastructure directly. And public cloud, it's a word itself saying public. So you implement one infrastructure with the normal cloud management UI, and you can expose it with role based or organization based. There are a lot of rules. You can segregate that. So public cloud, you can host it in anywhere, access it from anywhere. And hybrid cloud, here couple of people, they are having some misunderstanding. So nowadays, most of the business, they need only hybrid cloud. They don't need fully public cloud. They don't need fully private cloud. Most of the cases. Why? Because initially when cloud started, many business is very curious to move to cloud, but they realized if we move everything to the cloud, okay, the cost wise it's very, very expensive. Okay, so now what they are doing is like a kind of a data analytics or huge data warehouse kind of a projects. Of course, there is some business, they don't want to take any operation headache or any infrastructure headache. Then their call is to move everything to the cloud. But most of the secure data or sensitive data kind of data warehouse projects, they want to remain in the on-prem, but they want to serve to the end user with more flexible way. So they are publishing their web application in the cloud, but the data remains in the on-premises. Okay, it's a federation, it's not addition. So private cloud, when I need, I'm expanding to the public cloud, equal to hybrid cloud. Public cloud, when I need, I'm extending myself to private cloud, equal to hybrid cloud. So we will discuss about the next video about how we can size the cloud. Thanks for everyone.